Welcome to Confirmation Bias, presented by the League Ambassadors.
I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and if the PGA Tour of America refused to penalize the racist prick of a president by removing the 2022 PGA tournament from his golf course, then I'm calling on all American PGA Tour members to boycott that motherfucker. And that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Ambassador Junior Blue, and I'd like to issue an apology to Rob Pelinka because after sitting out most of free agency, he did a hell of a job filling out our squad, and I'm ready for the 2020 season, and that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Ambassador Dad, and I just want to give RIP to the fallen great pound-for-pound king that was Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. If it wasn't for this man, I would not be the boxing head that I am today. He got me to fall in love with the sweet science, and that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Red O, and I am all for equal pay as long as there is equal work. So the next time the women's side of the draw gives me a 5-hour mega match, then you motherfuckers can ask for equal pay. Until then, shut the fuck up and take what you get. And that's my confirmation bias.
Yikes. And I'm Ambassador Chef Curry, and there's only one American in history who has the right to be upset over the things that Mexicans took from him when they came to this country, and that's Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. That's my confirmation bias.
The views expressed by...
I said what I said. God damn it, and I meant it. Don't be apologizing for me. Apologize
We're
for
apologizing for us.
No. The views expressed
By one
man do not necessarily reflect the views expressed or felt
what I said.
by all the league ambassadors. Welcome to Confirmation Bias. This is episode 80 of our podcast.
Last one.
As a reminder, you can follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. That's Twitter, that is Facebook, that is Instagram. Also, please check out our website, theleagueam.com. Please check out our blog spot that is on theleagueam.com, Diplomatic Community. Shout out to Chief Diplomat Nick Blackman that's been holding it down. If you have something to say that's going on in the world of sports, please take your cues from Red O and say what you got to say. Just say it on Diplomatic Community. Also, please subscribe to and follow us on YouTube. Our channel is League Ambassadors, and also follow us on Twitch. The League AM is our channel name there. Today's show, we've got a little bit of everything. We got some baseball. We've got some basketball. We've got some football. We've got some golf. But first, we have Wimbledon. The championships at Wimbledon concluded this past weekend. On the women's side, Serena Williams got shot up by a deuce from Miss Simona Halep, 6-2, 6-2. And then on the men's side, which was a riveting contest between Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic, 5-set thriller, 7-6, 6-1, 7-6, 6-4, 13-12, with a 7-3 win in the 5th set tiebreak by Mr. Djokovic. Let's start on the women's side. Guys, For Serena, this is since her last major win, which was in 2017 at the Australian Open. She's gotten to 3 finals since then, and she's been swept. Is she going to tie and pass Miss Margaret Court for number 24? Junior Blue.
Yes, she is. I mean, you keep getting there. She doesn't have that margin of error that she used to have, where she could play a bad game and still win. She has to be on top of her game. And on Saturday, her backhand got away from her. I mean, she was making unforced errors. She had 26 unforced errors. First serve was like 59% or something crazy, where if she's on point, she probably wins, or it's a much better match.
Red-O, at some point though, because I feel like we've said that before about Serena, not just recently, but in general, it's like if she has a bad day, it's like, yes, she had a bad day, but she'll get it together. At some point, or not even at some point, but what do you see as being the problem here that she can't close the deal?
It is 100% mental. She was murdering everybody up until she got to Halep, and she's murdered Halep 9 times. It is 100% mental of getting over this hurdle because it's such a buildup. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because she has always been someone who has been mentally strong, who comes back from adversity, but for some reason, she can't get over this one hurdle. It used to be like that when she was younger. She used to get frustrated and she couldn't get over things. Yeah. She learned how to do that, and then she became the greatest player in the world. Like, her sister had to let her win a game, and I'll never forget that. She let her win just so she could stop. She can figure out a way to get over it, and then she just took off because it was that point where she couldn't get past Venus. So this is what it reminds me of. It's this one last hurdle, because she was playing great tennis up until that one game. And I just feel like it's only mental, because she's still playing at a high level. You're not getting the finals if you're not playing at a high level.
Right.
She's not getting lucky.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's the pressure. One, because I think she realizes that she's running out of time. Two, this is a monumental record that she's trying to break.
Right.
She's got to tie it first, then break
right.
it.
But,
I think once you tie it, it's done.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you add everything up, what she's done for the sport, if we're talking about GOAT conversations, I don't think the conversation is, Margaret Court or Serena.
Which is why the pressure angle is surprising.
But it's still pressure because of who she is, what she's accomplished, and we just assumed that it would be done. And then, okay, I decided to start a family in the middle of my run, which a lot of people don't. I'm a lot older than most people are in tennis when playing at this level.
Right.
So I have the baby. I come back. I still have something to prove. Now, I agree with Les. She finished in the finals of the U.S. Open last year. She lost, and that's coming up. So I think maybe she can run that, and maybe get the tie. And because, I mean, she's got to wrap this up at some point. She's 37, 38.
I think she's 30.
She's 37. Yeah, she's 37.
Yeah, so I think the fact that it's coming to an end, and only majors matter, or Grand Slams.
I think it started 2 times ago. I forgot which one, where it was like, okay, she's gonna do it. Then it didn't happen. Then the next one, the pressure built up more, and then we got here.
We're at a stall, kind of like Tiger. Kevin, I want to stay with Serena, but I want to come to you about a different story that came out. So. In the press conference after she was defeated in the final, there was a question presented to her based off of a comment, and I'll read it and then tee it off to you, made by Billie Jean King. Billie Jean King stated and said, you never count her out, talking about Serena. Every time she wins one more match helps. Quite frankly, if I were Serena, I would give up being a celebrity for a year and a half. If she wants to win titles, if she wants to beat records, that's the question. I don't know what she wants. No more Met Galas, just stop all this insanity because she's trying to be everything. Then she continues on. She says she's got a baby. She's trying to help gender equity, particularly women of color. But it makes it much harder. I would like her to put everything aside because she's got people working on those things. I wish she would just make a commitment for the next year and a half to 2 years and say, I'm going to absolutely focus on what's necessary for my tennis. And Serena, in response to that, effectively said, listen, I'm not going to stop fighting for equality until I'm dead. Does this sound like shut up and dribble?
Yes, exactly where you decided to keep going is where Billie Jean should have stopped. Because she, to a degree, I feel that if she said it appears as though Serena has a lot on her plate, maybe too much on her plate, and left it at that. But when you talk about what she should and shouldn't do and should and shouldn't be in these battles, despite what Billie Jean King has done in her past, she has never and will never walk in the same shoes, fight the same battles as Serena Williams. No one would tell LeBron James to, you should really chill out on Space Jam and try to figure out how to make. Bro, he's already proven himself. The same way Serena's already proven herself. And it kind of reminded me of the conversation my dad had always had was that, you have to be extraordinary to match their ordinary, just to compete. And I feel like if she wants to be involved in these other things, let her. She's put her time in. She sacrificed her entire life to be great at this sport. She's already done that. If she wants to be involved in other things, she has the right to do so. Now, to Omar's point, has she not been competing in finals and she been getting her Venus on, with all due respect, losing in the first and second round at games she shouldn't be losing? Cool. But the woman she played her ass off throughout the whole tournament, deserved to win. Despite the fact that Serena has continued to come up short, she's still making it to the championship. So I feel like she's earned the right to do what the fuck she wants. And Billie Jean King should honestly shut up and live her own life.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have told me that a tennis luminary made that comment, I wouldn't have thought it would have been Billie Jean King, considering what she's also meant to the sport. But it also brings up a good point, Kevin. We were talking about this the other day with regards to Handmaid's Tale, and whatever. But I don't think that black women have the same fight that white women do when it comes to this feminist movement. Like, it's different. It's not the same
Expound
struggle.
on it, brother.
Well, I mean, they want you to work and come in and be a part of their movement, but it's really so they can gain the fruits of the labor, because that stuff that they're talking about doesn't necessarily always apply.
Well, they're already ahead of the game. So if you coming in to help everybody, they're already ahead of the game. So if they're getting more and more help, we still behind.
Last in line.
So,
say her being a celebrity, like, you're completely just ignoring the fact that these are business ventures. These are she's impacting people's lives. She's not out here doing anything extreme, anything that no other athlete, specifically another male athlete, would do. So why would you hold hold her standards any different than you would for somebody else? I just think it's bullshit. But it's the same thing that's always applied to black people, specifically black women, as far back as you want to go. So I think Serena should keep doing what the fuck she wants to do.
To try and take the contrarian view,
which you are so wont to do.
Yeah. I almost feel like she had something to say and she didn't know where to land. She could have said it more eloquently, where it was, listen, if she just chills for a year and a half and get this out the way so she can move on and get this out the way, then she can go do what she wants. This is the most important. All I'm saying is she could have had a different thought and it came out with white privilege.
She didn't have to say shit.
You understand?
And that sounds exactly like what our president does all the time.
Yeah, but we're not going to compare Billie Jean.
No, but you're talking about she had something to say.
No, all I'm saying
and it came out this way.
Nah, it's not.
Nah, he mean what he say.
Yeah, that's real shit.
And I'm not saying she don't mean what she said. All I'm saying is, to a certain point, I almost understand, like, get this shit out the way and then go live your life, because it can't. Because first of all, it wasn't like she just had a baby and then she was back. She had complications.
Right.
She had life-threatening complications. Like, she's had a rough time. So everything else can't be helping the game.
And then during that one tournament, she got the news that the guy who killed her sister was getting out.
Yeah, like, it was a lot of things. And I think I almost understand what she said, but she said it with too much white privilege.
I think it's just
because, to Omar, to your point though that you made earlier, to a degree, it does seem like in these championship matches she isn't focused, and her greatest strength for a long time has been her emotion, her tenacity. But then when things don't go her way, it's like it consumes her. So no, I agree. It appears she's being distracted by something, but to say stop being a celebrity, stop getting that bag, stop having an influence, that's where she lost all of us.
And a celebrity, to be clear, and this is why I would have trouble sort of trying to understand where Billie Jean was coming from. It's not like you have any control over whether you're a celebrity or not.
Well,
if you're a celebrity, you're
also,
a celebrity.
coming
So-
from her point of view, she hid her true self for half a century. So she's someone who doesn't doesn't appreciate the limelight, because she appreciated staying in the dark.
Omar went from one side of the spectrum all the way to the other in one conversation.
Tis true.
We hitting all angles in this hour.
We might have changed the title of this show.
Y'all can tell me, but y'all can't call me a liar.
Moving over to the men's side, Roger Federer going against Novak Djokovic. It was a phenomenal match. Junior Blue, for you, what was the turning point in that 5-set thriller?
The turning point for me was the fact that Federer could not hit a backhand to save his life. And Joker kept going to it, and it kept being a slice.
I feel like
every single time.
I feel like Les did his tennis notes, and he had one word: backhand.
Because they both lost it. If you watch the match, was it not a 5-hour fight? Was it not a 5-hour fight?
It was.
But they honestly,
Way to save it, Les.
He Googled slice.
they kept saying it.
Top spin.
The whole match,
but
they
he's right,
kept
but let's
saying
play.
it over and over again. I don't watch tennis that much, but guess what? I heard slice a million times.
And to his point, though, Joker he had the entire opposite side of the court open. He could have made Federer run, and he didn't. He just kept like, hey, old man, you gonna keep hitting this ball over this net until we get to that 5th set. And now, to your point, it was great to watch. I was amazed. We've seen Joker be great before, but just him hold up in that moment with everything that was in Federer's favor, the crowd, the moment. And he was just cold-blooded, man, coming back from those double match points to save face and then continue the match. That was great.
I felt like in the first, the third, and in the 5th set, it was Joker's match. It was clear that he wanted to, and I think I mentioned it on Sunday as we were watching it. His plan was to take Federer to the deep water, and
You mean sit out 2 sets?
Take him to the deep water. Take him to the deep water. And I think, it did almost cost him, because he definitely had 2 match points, and those were the pivotal turning points. But whenever he needed to dig deep to win a game, he was able to do that. And so I think it was played under his influence. Real quick, the new tiebreaker format, which they made a big deal out of, John McEnroe wouldn't shut up about it, where instead of in the 5th set for Wimbledon, normally what happens in that 5th set is that you will keep going until somebody wins by 2. In the new format, it stopped at 12, so if it was 12-12, then it would just go to a tiebreaker. Fan of the new format or not? Joker in his post-match interview said it was a little bit strange, it was a little bit weird. What did you guys feel about it?
I think it's good because we can't have another 11-hour match.
Yep.
I think that happened 9 years ago, and then last year,
Yes, we can. No.
we had a 6-hour match in the semis, and that basically ruined the final because the guy who won that 6-hour match lost to Joker like in straight sets, quick.
I definitely think there's something to be said about momentum as well, because what I started to get worried about was, man, I don't think they play Wimbledon under the lights, and if it gets dark and then you come back another day, like that could drastically change momentum.
It also fucks with the schedule after you, because they had to move Serena's match 9 years ago because of how long it took.
So here's a question, and I don't take credit for this. Devin has been asking it all weekend, and I think it's a really good discussion, and it really centers around the thoughts on the legacy of the big 3, of not only Federer and Nadal, but also Novak Djokovic. Boris Becker, he came out today and he basically said that tennis fans need to wake up to the greatness of Djokovic. And it always feels like, it definitely seems like, of the 3, Joker is like the tag-along. Like, everybody likes Federer, everyone likes Nadal, but no one is really giving Djokovic that credit. Why is that, Redo?
Well, Nadal is the king of the clay.
Okay.
Federer is the king of continual play at the same level, and there's only room for so many in tennis. I think if Djokovic was an American, he would be considered the best player in the world. You talk to any coach who knows tennis, they say to a man that if you want your child to be a tennis player, follow what Djokovic does. Do what Djokovic does. He is textbook. And I think part of it is Federer and Nadal got the spotlight, and there's only room for those two. The problem is there's no American.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, most Americans, if one of them was an American, tennis would be popping right now because we are all missing greatness by not watching these three.
Right.
And eventually, I think in the end, Djokovic will be considered the best of the three.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to take a little longer. But like that match was the what do you call that? The light.
Mm-hmm.
So now people are like, oh shit, okay, he is just as good or better than them.
Do you think it also has something to do with the fact that like Nadal is known as like he's a grinder of a tennis player, like he's like Michael Chang 6.0. You know, Federer serve and volley also has just like he has a versatile game, and he was the first one of the three to really break through as being like, oh, this guy has a chance to be the greatest. Whereas with Djokovic, it's just like he's just really what I said Sunday. He's just really good at everything.
He's textbook.
But he's not known. He's not known for that one thing. Do you think that has something to do with it?
I think it was who started first.
Federer.
Exactly.
Federer.
So again, there was only room for Federer, and then Nadal
came
got
as the worthy competitor,
but he got the clay courts. Can't nobody beat him on the clay courts.
Nobody.
That's actually my point. You had 3 years of Federer versus Nadal before Joker was on the scene.
Yeah.
So you already had your Pepsi and Coke. So
Dr. Pepper?
where's Shasta come in? You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know. You pick sides already.
Right.
So now someone else is coming in, and look, he's younger. He already has 16 Grand Slam titles.
Right.
In the end, he's going to be considered the best. But if he was an American, they would be talking about him way more than what he is now.
So Devin, to your point, which is that, okay, so we understand it was established. Federer and Nadal, they got there first. That rivalry got there first. What do you say about the guy who, oh, by the way, gives both of those guys all that work? Like, has more wins against both of them.
Smoke.
When he's done, will he then be acknowledged as the greatest tennis player of all time, or will folks be still looking at Federer? Because I think right now it's accepted that Federer is the GOAT.
Yeah, no, I think if he surpasses them, both of them, I think you have to give it to him. How this even came about. You can't say this about any other sport. You can't say that Michael Jordan, LeBron, and Magic all played against each other at the same time, and they all dominated and won multiple ships, and then we could decide who was better.
Right.
They are doing this right now.
Yeah.
And he is competing with them, like you said, giving them that work. He's only 1 year younger than Nadal. And Federer is an alien.
Yeah.
And he has a better record versus him, but if everything stays the same, he will surpass them. And he can say, well, if you think that he's the best, I beat him continuously. I beat him as well. If you think he's number 2, you got to give me that crown.
You can look at this match as, in history, they're probably going to look at this match as passing the torch. When it comes to, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, y'all made some great points. And I agree, Omar, you talk about passing the torch. He kind of reminds me of Joker reminds me of the Kawhi Leonard of the LeBron and KD era. It's like, he gives both of y'all that work. It's just a fact that, okay, like Dev said, Federer will always get the greatness because of his accomplishments, because of the time frame in which he did it. But he's also more marketable. And Nadal is the contrarian to his greatness. And then this kind of Joker just sitting out there. But if you look at their head-to-heads and them going against each other, Nadal and Djokovic both have a better record against Nadal than he has against the other two. So I just think I'll speak for the whole black community in saying that the 5 of us ain't missing shit, because we was all up Sunday morning watching that match. And I'm telling you, this is probably the best competition we've ever seen, these 3 guys at this stage of their career.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into our Black versus Blue segment. And unless you have been living under a rock for the last 2 weeks, the Clippers got Kawhi, got PG. The Lakers retooled and got Anthony Davis. Hope versus hype. This NBA season will be history-making in the city of Los Angeles.
Hope. Nobody wants to say it. Hope.
I thought he was gonna call a name.
I mean, honestly, I feel like we're on a collision course to meet in the playoffs, and that's never happened before.
It's hype because the Lakers winning a title is not history making.
Oh,
That's just par for the course,
Jesus
baby.
Christ.
Fucking God. Les, I agree. I agree, Les. It's definitely hope for that reason. It's a chance that these two teams could meet in the playoffs, maybe even the Western Conference Finals, but it's also the best chance that the Clippers have ever had to be legit. Omar, relax. To be any type of legitimacy in LA. Not saying they're going to trump the Lakers. That's impossible. But they can really develop, a fan base, in, at least for the 2 years that Kawhi.
Speak on it, Kev.
It's actually unfortunate that the Clippers are going to be this good at the same time the Lakers are going to be this good for the Clippers. Meaning, if the Lakers were still bad, they would have a chance to become LA's team.
No, they wouldn't.
Even though I don't think it would ever happen, but they would have a chance to build on it because they would be
would have a better
clear-cut
chance.
champion, the number ones. And the fact is, the Laker fans are just as hyped now. So there's no way in the world they have any shot.
So is that hope?
Well, it's hope because it's a beautiful thing to see both LA teams doing good in the same goddamn building.
I say hype only because when we're talking about history making, there's a possibility that how good we think they are that they may not meet up in the playoffs. So is it based off of that history making, meeting up in the Western Conference Finals, playing in the playoffs, or both of them having success? So that's what I'm saying. Like it's a possibility.
I
that
mean,
doesn't happen.
they've never both had success at the same time.
Right.
They've never both been top 4 seeds ever, and we feel like both of them will be. So I mean, that's to me that is hope.
Okay. Switching gears to a different sport, which is so fun that everyone watches it all the time.
We're gonna get to that.
The Independent Baseball League, which is separate from Major League Baseball, started using the automated robot umpires for calling balls and strikes. Kevin, hope versus hype. Will this lead to better baseball?
No, this is absolutely hype. Because baseball is still going to be the sport that it's been. But if they're intent on getting the call correct, then I don't even think implementing these robots are much better than a regular umpire, especially given the fact that a human umpire can overrule the call made by one of these robots. Then just throw the whole system out. What's the point? I appreciate them trying to get it right, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to cause more problems than it's helped, and it's not going to change the way baseball is played.
I disagree slightly with that because there was a Real Sports, HBO Real Sports segment about this 3 years ago, and they did it in a minor league game. And this all came from this Yale professor who studied every single pitch that was thrown over a course of 3.5 years, which is over 1 million pitches. And what he found out is that the umps are only right 88% of the time, which sounds like that's a B+. But that's 30,000 mistakes. So
that should get you a master's degree. Trust me.
So I think it does impact it, Omar.
Well, part of the game is human error. That's part of the game. You have to learn. Even in the NBA, you know which refs call it tight. You know, certain refs, gonna give you them corners. And if you eat with them corners, you doing good. If you don't eat with the corners, you got a problem. Like not refs, umpires. I don't think that the human error part of the game, the human element part of the game should be taken out. I believe in the human element. That's kind of the point of the game. It makes it interesting. The more you take humans out of it, the less interesting it gets. And baseball already has an interesting problem.
Kenyon, piggybacking off of that, the human element also didn't allow Negroes to play. They also have not changed tradition. Is this a step in the right direction? Because we can fix it now. Before we couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is an argument for that. That the human element, it makes it interesting, but there's also this thing called technology that is invading everyone's life on every level. And so, if there is an opportunity to make something better, then I think you have to explore it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's weird to me that the umpire still has the ability to overrule the robot. That, I think the logistics behind that, I think.
Well, the
it
reason
doesn't
why
make
they do that
sense.
is because it's only basing it off of if it crosses the plate. If the ball bounces and then hits the strike zone, it would still call it a strike. So you have to have somebody there to correct it because it's not a perfect system.
I saw a called 3 strike from a robot where it was over the person's head. So they got errors too. So I mean, it's not gonna be perfect. Why don't they? The graphics they use on Fox or whatever. Why can't that be implemented?
Because they don't use the same strike zone. They use the same strike zone on Fox, but it's not the same for each player. It adjusts based off of your height.
So that it's better to roll out robots.
I mean,
Like,
is it better to roll out people that can be on the take, or people that umps that are 65 years old and
I'm
can't
just
see?
saying,
Then I go back to Omar's thing. That's just part of the game. I think that there are other. I'll say it like this. I think that there are other fish to fry for baseball rather than balls and strikes.
I mean, we're just scratching the surface here. Specifically for this segment, we're talking about balls and
But
strikes.
I think the problem with baseball is that they want to hold on to certain things, but they understand what is happening and what they need to do, but they're still trying to hold on to that bullshit past. So they're searching for little things they can change that won't adjust the game so purists can be fucking happy. It's weird.
Well, Saturday, there was a few boxing matches.
Yes.
Shakur Stevenson beat a fighter who was on an 8-day replacement in a very uncompetitive match. As a matter of fact, Omar came over to watch and took a nap.
With my old ass.
So Shakur, he proceeded to call out everyone.
Everyone.
After he won. So Hope versus Hype. Can he beat all the current champions at featherweight? I'll start with you, Les. Just to give you the name of the champs, we have Leo Santa Cruz, Gary Russell Jr., Josh Warrington over in the UK, and Oscar Valdez, who may be leaving the division because he's getting too heavy.
I think Shakur is probably a little too young for Santa Cruz. Like, I feel like it'd be too early for him to go into that match. I mean, that's...
I agree.
More than anything, I listen to his manager, and I'm talking about the one that actually boxes, not the one that makes motherfuckers disappear. Andre Ward is like, the talent is there, but
He want more season. He like his chicken season.
I think he likes his chicken season, and I tend to agree with that. I think the talent is there. I would like to. I don't think that he beats Gary Russell.
That was what I was going to say.
I don't think. And it's
Because I want to see Gary Russell versus Leo first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think, and it's not just the hand speed. I just think that the experience of a Gary Russell could be problematic
And
as
he's
well.
fought no one.
And I
Yeah.
think he's going to listen. I think he's going to listen to Andre Ward. But I think him starting to call people out puts his name into it. So when other people fight, then while he's fighting at the same time, all of a sudden he's building. Because Gary Russell is going to be in this division until he's 95.
Yeah.
Because he's never
not
going
gonna get bigger.
Yeah. So there's certain things he can start talking about it to start building these fights while he gets experience at the same time.
I just hate how ESPN covers these fights. Ever since we lost HBO, which they had their bias, but like, it's so bad how they cover these fighters and they just parade their fighters and just talk, which you should pump them up because your ESPN's tied to Top Rank. But they basically said that, we don't have to worry about the WBA belt. It's more of the WBO and the IBF.
I heard that.
Josh Warrington and Oscar Valdez.
There's only
like,
so much.
Like
you
Leo
can-
Santa Cruz ain't been destroying the division.
Right.
Well, I think it's more of this, the boxing politics, because Santa Cruz and Gary Russell are with God. So
Yeah. It's only so. I get it. It's hard to listen to Sloppy Toppy the whole time, and it's just like, man, y'all gotta do something different, man. Y'all gotta do something different.
Kev, moving to hit or flop. The American League beat the National League.
for the record, it's never hard to listen to Sloppy Toppy.
I tried to hurry up, Kevin. You didn't move fast enough, buddy. My bad. All right, Kev, save us.
No saving us now.
The American League beat the National League for the third straight year in the All-Star game. Is this a hit or flop?
It's a flop.
That question was a flop to begin with. I should read what it says.
It's a very economical program.
Moving
But
on.
no, to be honest, I think specifically we can talk about the changes MLB needs to make for hours, but specifically for All-Star Weekend, I think they should consider wholesale changes the way that the NBA did. Consider having team captains and guys just draft guys from other teams. I think they should even try to consider allowing players to play outside of their own position. Like, it would be cool to see a guy who doesn't pitch, and a guy who doesn't catch, or some infielder play in the outfield, just to mix it up, because this shit is boring. I can't tell you the last time I sat down and watched an All-Star game and really cared about it. I mean, it's not entertaining. Like, it's great for purists and guys, but you see all these strikeouts and runs not being scored. It's not worth watching. That's why I didn't watch it.
The lowest rated All-Star game in over 52 years, I think they said on TV. As a Dodgers fan, I'm fucking sick of this whole the winning league gets home field advantage. That's some bullshit. Yeah, it's a flop.
Didn't they end that?
Yeah, they did 2 years ago.
No, they didn't.
No, I think I think last year was the last year they did that.
The what?
The
Hosting the World Series?
Check the notes on that.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2. Yeah.
Really?
That's dead.
Yeah.
See, that's how much you watch it.
That's right.
Because that's why the Dodgers had home field advantage, and that's why Boston had home field advantage. Those were the last 2.
Yeah. So staying
When
with.
do we have home field advantage? Oh, don't remind me.
Yeah, I'm about to say, whoa.
You want to remember that?
Yeah.
Game 7.
Ooh.
Staying with the Dodgers, since y'all wanted to open that can, let's continue down that road.
Yes.
The Dodgers are the only team in baseball with more than a seven game lead in their division.
Well, about like 20 and a half.
Hit or flop that the second half of the season for every other division will be exciting.
I think it's a hit. I think that is a hit. I think that you go down the line. You know the National League Central is going to be competitive with all 3 teams, and St. Louis is making a run. You go to the National League East. Atlanta's the front runner now, but they're young, and Washington is hot, but I think Philadelphia catches them. You go over to the American League. Listen, I'm Dodgers all day. I don't give 2 shits about the Angels, but Mike Trout is ridiculous. And if they could get a pitcher or something, they could make it interesting. You go, the Minnesota Twins are leading baseball in home runs. They're, but they're only six games up over Cleveland. And then you go to the East, and Boston looks like, until they ran into that road grader known as the Dodgers, they were making a run up on the Yankees. So, yeah, I think it's a hit that the second half of baseball is going to be interesting.
I totally agree with Kenyon, so I don't need to repeat any of that. What I think is a hit is how all of a sudden everywhere the Dodgers go, there's more Dodger fans than any
That shit was crazy.
Let's go.
Yeah, that was fun to see.
Off the rails, Kev. Off the
What team will be
rails.
trying to World Series this year?
Shut up.
But to Kenyon's point though, if we're gonna go Homer status, let's go there. I would say
The
I agree
Orioles?
this is a hit, especially if you're in the NL Central, because the Reds are in last place. They're only 5.5 games back.
Right.
The fucking Orioles are in last place. We are 32.5. Yo, hope was lost last season. If you're in the NL Central, you can't wait, at least specifically in the NL Central, you can't wait for the second half of the season. This shit about to be crazy.
The bad part about this is because of the new trade deadline rules. There's only one trade, and there's so many teams that are still...
They're caught in the middle.
Yeah, and so there's not going to be... It's going to be down to the deadline. So it may be interesting, but it may be too many teams close where they don't want to sell.
Yeah.
Exactly. This Thursday, the British Open tees off. It's in Northern Ireland. Hit or flop, can Rory bring it home at home?
Flop? I'm going for Brooks Koepka until
Hey,
otherwise.
Bruce, one of the
Bruce, one of the Koepkas. Yeah, Kevin, which one is it? I think that
whoever he want to be.
I think Rory has, we talked a little bit about Serena and having to deal with the pressure of, tying and then breaking Margaret Court. Rory is another one of those players that, he's still trying to get the career Grand Slam. He was supposed to be the heir apparent to Tiger, and here we are down the line. This is the first time.
We had 3 other dudes pass him.
Yeah, this is the first time that the British Open is being held in Northern Ireland, because typically there's fighting that goes on in Northern Ireland. I think he's definitely going to feel the pressure there. I think Graham McDowell, his country mate, literally his town mate, will do better than him. That's my call.
All right, newsworthy, nothing to see here. Justin Verlander, which we heard previous, alleges that during the All-Star week that MLB is juicing the balls. Newsworthy, nothing to see
It's
here.
newsworthy. Something needs to be juiced in baseball.
Well,
Instead of booties.
damn.
Oh God. Next subject.
Next one is
No. Rollins owns makes the balls, right, for Major League Baseball. The one thing most people don't realize is Major League Baseball owns Rollins.
So you're saying that they're juiced.
Fuck yeah, they juice.
That's what
But-
we said.
Huh?
He didn't say they weren't.
No, I'm just saying, but that's not.
No,
that's,
he wanted to give you a fact.
Oh,
Because
okay.
that's not something that most people know. Is that Major League Baseball owns the
Conflict of
company.
interest?
Yes, and no one talks about it.
All right.
That's why they're talking about it now on the
Another
side.
interest problem for baseball. They got to do something. They are fucking desperate.
They, you know who else was desperate?
Uh-oh.
That
was beautiful. I love that.
Russell Westbrook was also traded to Houston for Chris Paul. Newsworthy or nothing to see here?
Wait a minute. Who was more desperate? Daryl Morey or Sam Presti?
It was definitely
that's a-
Daryl Morey.
Yes. I had to think about it. Newsworthy, nothing to see here that the Rockets swapping point guards.
Newsworthy.
It's definitely newsworthy.
Yeah.
It's
gonna be fun.
Yeah, I was about to say it's awesome. This year is one of the first years in a long time where it's not preordained.
Does anyone think that they missed the playoffs?
Cool.
Houston.
No.
I don't think they missed a playoff.
I don't think that. No, I think they're going to be a good. Listen, and so for
Regular
that reason,
season?
listen
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
for that
okay.
reason,
Regular season team.
for that reason, I'd say it's nothing to see. Only because, and that Dan Tony said this today, and I do think he's right. He said, "Listen, it's a star-driven league, and if stars want to play together, as long as they get along, they'll figure it out." And I think
Chris
that,
don't get along with nobody.
What is it?
huh?
Define it. What is it? You said figure it out.
Well,
What is it?
you know, on social media and everywhere, as soon as the trades happen, even people that don't even know anything about basketball were like Russell and James, like, oh, you know, the narrative that's out, and it's true. 2 ball hogs, they're ball dominant. D'Antoni's like every star is ball dominant. What star don't you know that isn't ball dominant? And it's just about whether or not
Davis.
they get along. And I think that that's true. So I think it'll work for a time. It's not. We all know
It ain't gonna work
we
when
all
it's
know-
time to fuck. Let's
Exactly.
talk about that.
That's right. That I agree. And so thus
They pulling their
again,
pants up in the playoffs.
nothing to see, right?
But
Because
he-
we know how this story's going to end.
But here's my thought on it, which is if Chris Paul actually stays in Oklahoma and Danilo stays healthy, I think they're fighting for a playoff spot.
Omar, you drunk?
I am. I'm sticking with it.
He said that Saturday before he took
and I'm
the big
sticking
sleep.
with it.
Nah.
He said,
Like I would
if
say,
CP3
I think this
healthy.
is newsworthy because strictly from a position standpoint, obviously Houston did upgrade at the point guard position, given what we saw last year in the playoff. But in terms of big picture, and that's where I was going, Ken, and you of course addressed it. But big picture, are they gonna get any further than they did last year? Be a better team? No, I mean they're gonna have the same problems they've always had. You just have Mike D'Antoni with even more. He got 93 premium in his tank now. He's still gonna crash the bitch into a wall. He's got two players with the highest single season usage rate on the same team.
Don't know how to play another
This is
way.
going to be a beautiful disaster, and I can't wait till November 1st.
One of these things have to change.
Ha! Nope.
Which one?
That's where it gets beautiful.
In the NFL, which we always get around this time, it's holdout season.
Here we go. First up on the docket.
Yeah, first up. And by the way, number 2 dropped today too.
Who?
Before we get into what we're talking about, Treasure Troll said he would like a new contract.
No.
I don't know who Treasure Troll is.
Come on now.
Ezekiel Elliott.
No.
But that happened after we started putting the show together. But what we came to talk
I have
about
an
is
interesting take on that too, but go ahead.
Mr. Melvin Gordon demands a new contract, and this is interesting because if they can't come to an agreement, it will either be a holdout or he wants to get traded. Newsworthy or nothing to see here, Kev?
This is newsworthy, and it's because I have a bit of advice for Mr. Gordon. Hopefully he watched the earlier segment of this show. We talked about 3 great players who are all great, all deserving, and everyone else is on the outside looking in. He is not Novak Djokovic in this 3-man league. He is Andy Roddick. Listen. Le'Veon Bell deserves this money. Ezekiel Elliott deserves this money.
Oh my God.
Pick a third running back that's not Melvin Gordon who deserves to handle their business this way. Listen, get your money, black man. I'm rooting for you. But this ain't the move, cuz. This ain't going well for you, buddy.
I think it's nothing to see here. Because San Diego is not going to do anything. They're not giving him money. They played good when he got hurt because they have 2 capable running backs to replace him. Eckler looked good when he got hurt. He's not in any position to demand anything from San Diego. I mean, from
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
See, I thought you was playing, but you really meant it.
No,
He meant that shit.
Going to their honorary 1-year fan.
Yes.
Knowing their track record with them being cheap as fuck,
Right.
and they are a Super Bowl contending team. What did the Chargers do?
The Chargers are going to play hardball is what they're going to do, and they're not going to trade him, and then he'll just come in whenever he comes in. Unless, here's my one caveat, unless Phillip Rivers says, daggone it, you sons of guns, go ahead and pay that nice guy his money!
pay that man his money. And he already backed down though.
Huh?
He already backed down on the trade request. Somebody got to him and was like, "Listen, you're not gonna win this." So that's
It was Andy Roddick. He told him, bro,
It's not the move.
that ain't me, bro. That ain't you.
All right, we on to our debate segment. Is you with it or not?
Yeah.
Today's combatants, it's the Johnson brothers. The topic, boxing. This weekend, we have a championship fight between Manny Pacquiao, the WBA regular welterweight champion, and Keith Thurman, the WA welterweight super champion. We want to know who's going to win and why. So I got a coin here. I'm going to flip it. Call it.
Heads.
Tails it is.
no sloppy toppy.
So what you got?
I'm gonna go with Keith one-time Thurman.
Keith one-time Thurman.
Keith. Okay.
All right. So
Well, I'll be making the Pacquiao debate, I guess. You know what? I'll go first.
Oh shit.
Okay.
1
DJ
point for
Mike,
Kevin
spin
already.
that.
you know.
All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and jump the gun and get in front of this train before it comes down the street. Look, my opponent, who is my brother Devin, of course, is going to point out that Manny Pacquiao is indeed 10 years older than Mr. Thurman.
Yep.
What he won't mention tonight is that he is also 10 years older than me. 10 years and 3 days to be exact. And if I was to challenge my poor brother Devin to a duel right here in front of all of you gentlemen, most of you in the room who are closer to his age than mine would probably pick Devin to win, despite me being the more physical specimen. You would bank on Devin's experience, his proven ability, and the wisdom that he has gained over his childbearing years.
Different
to
weight
overcome
class.
my advantages. Correct, Omar. That same logic should apply to how we view this fight, and I think that's because Manny's the more seasoned fighter. People will say he isn't the boxer that he was 5-8 years ago, but I will argue that Mr. Thurman is not the boxer that he was 2 years ago. He fought just once since March 2017, correct me if I'm wrong, and that was this past January, where he looked rusty against Mr. Lopez. Thurman has had surgery, been in a car accident since, and while Manny's last 2 fights, he showed against Broner and against Matisse that he still has the speed and he can be effective against a young opponent. As a result, I think Thurman feels that he, to a degree, has more to prove in this fight, and we all know that there's nothing more stubborn than a young man with an axe to grind. So with Manny, who has over 70 career fights, he's been boxing for over 24 years, Mr. Thurman has 30 fights in his 30 years on this earth, and I think with Manny's patience, his expertise, his proven ability to pick his spots, he is going to defeat Thurman. I don't know if it goes the full round. I'll be drunk, but I do know. And who's judging this fight? Omar, Kenyon? Y'all know. We know. The hood knows that Manny Pacquiao is going to win this fight on Saturday.
All I know is you lucky Kenyon is judging this.
All right, Dev, it's on you.
All right, first of all, Kev, you don't want these paws. So there's so much talent in this welterweight division and so much smoke to be handed out. It's loaded. I believe like Omar says this all the time about boxing. I want Manny to go away. And the reason why I want him to go away is, don't get me wrong, he's an all-time great. He's still pretty good, but there are hungry dogs that are waiting, and he's getting in the way. I believe Keith one-time Thurman can accommodate my wish by putting Manny away for good this Saturday. If Keith wins, Manny won't be up for any of the upcoming big fights with these other dogs, because I think if he does, he's going to make it complicated. This allows Thurman to be in the mix to fight Errol Spence, maybe even Terrence Crawford, and maybe rematch the other top welterweights in the division. This is actually a legacy fight for Thurman. He's been wanting and jumping up and down to fight greats for a long time. He has to win, and he has to win this decisively, because if there's any disputed decision, the public will want to see it again, and we don't. We want to see fresh blood. This is, like Kevin said, he's 10 years younger than Manny, and he hasn't been in any wars. Manny's been in 3 trilogies and at least 1 rematch. Keith actually is the smarter boxer of the two, maybe has more power. We haven't seen Manny knock anybody out since Ricky Hatton 2009, 10 years ago. He may have comparable speed. Manny's probably a little bit faster, even at 40. And Keith has more to prove. Not to mention that he has the longer reach, and hasn't been beaten, and he's beaten notable southpaws with Luis Collazo and Robert the Ghost Guerrero. So he won't have any issues with figuring out the southpaw obstacle. And lastly, Thurman will win because he doesn't know what losing is like. He is undefeated. And how can a top champ in his prime lose to an over-the-hill 40-year-old fighter?
Kenyon, I just want you to know, I take
Oh my God.
for this.
Well,
Quilted Northern. Shit is expensive.
we got a welterweight versus a heavyweight here. Kenyon, who won?
Wait, time out. Who won the debate or who's going to win the fight? These 2 different questions.
It could be the same answer.
It could be the same answer.
We talking about the debate right now.
I actually think it is the same.
Yeah. I mean, I Devin won the debate. I really don't know. It really is a pick 'em fight. I think that Manny Pacquiao has seen someone like Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman has never seen anyone like Manny Pacquiao, even though he is 40. That's one question. I don't know what Manny Pacquiao is going to look like as the fight gets later. To me, Keith Thurman for Manny Pacquiao is like Tim Bradley. If we can remember Tim Bradley before he died in Carson, that's who Tim Bradley is for him. He's going to be smart. He's got all the physical advantages. But it is different when you get in the ring when you get in there with Manny. So I'm from when the fight was being rumored.
So I won?
You definitely won the debate. Yeah.
You said it to me more than once that you think Manny can beat Thurman.
Yeah, I do. I think Manny can beat Thurman for real.
I honestly think that Manny can beat Thurman after the debate. I think it is a pick'em fight. I don't know. I think it's more so you say you don't know what Manny looks like later in the round. I don't know what Keith Thurman looks like under these bright lights. He's been asking for it.
And that's another thing. That's also another point.
And he better be physically right.
And like Kevin said, he looked rusty in his last fight, and he used to have this big thing over him, like he was a big puncher one time. He hasn't one-time anybody in a long time.
Yeah, he's been one time in a while.
So I don't know if that power is still like that. We know Manny can still pop, and Floyd said like I can see why Manny is great. He's really awkward. And is Keith Thurman smart like Floyd? I don't think so. He's a smart fighter.
Right.
But he has a tendency that when he does get hit, he retreats. He doesn't hold and turn.
He gets very ordinary when he gets popped. Yeah. Absolutely.
And Pacquiao will hit him.
Absolutely. It really is, folks. It's a really good fight. If you know, I'm sure everybody knows who Manny Pacquiao is. It is a really, even at 40, don't believe the hype. Don't listen to the narrative. Manny Pacquiao, it's going to be an interesting fight. I would not be surprised if he won. So, real quick,
either.
I do think Thurman wins, though. Sorry.
Diplomatic immunity, hand wraps. You got anything in diplomatic immunity?
I do. We're going to keep it boxing. Mr. Paul from Minnesota had a question. We referenced the great Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker early in the show, who, of course, passed the other day. Just want to ask you guys, as boxing heads, Paul said, what will your lasting memories of what will your lasting memories be of Sweet Pea, and what sticks out the most for me? And I mentioned my confirmation bias. He got robbed by not one, but two Mexicans, and I feel like those two fights, to me at least, I remember watching them growing up, stick out to me, just because it was a travesty. But what do you guys think?
I think he's the best defensive fighter I've ever seen, and I don't think it's close. I think you can maybe put Floyd up there, but the shit that he used to do. It was unreal. I mean, he would dip and duck right in front of you in the pocket.
And there was nothing you can do.
And you couldn't do anything.
He's the first person to beat Oscar De La Hoya.
Well, he's the first person to beat Julio Cesar Chavez. I actually rewatched the Oscar De La Hoya fight recently.
Nah, I think he beat Oscar. I've seen it enough. He beat him. I'm sorry.
I just, I knew this because I heard Floyd actually said in an interview. And then in the wake of his passing, you heard so many boxers and just guys around the game talk about how generous he was. He was the guy who would go and get the cats from the hood, the young boxing cats, and say, come to Virginia Beach and let's train. Get them out of the hood, come to Virginia. Like, Virginia is a hub, is a boxer's hub because of what Pernell Whitaker started. So he was a guy who definitely gave back to kids like him and really gave a young Floyd Mayweather the confidence because he actually sparred with him. And it's something that,
That's when his dad was in jail.
Exactly. His dad was in jail. Floyd spars with Pernell, gives Pernell that work, and that served as a catapult to Pretty Boy Floyd. So, just hearing, the boxers talk about just how generous he was with his time, with his money, showing them the good life. Like, if you work hard, this is what you could be. Like, he was that guy, and just, phenomenal boxer.
Rest in peace, man.
One of the things I remember was the interview he gave after the De La Hoya fight, when he was like, I'm undefeated. Nobody's ever beat me. Nobody's ever beat me. Ain't nobody put me down, put me out.
Except for cocaine.
It's funny how
and a car.
The circle of life. Oh shit!
Please keep going.
The circle of life is real because it was him to Floyd in while sparring, and then it was Floyd to Spence while sparring.
Yeah,
that boxing circle is real.
Yep. All right, well, we will cap it right here. This has been another episode of Confirmation Bias. As a reminder, follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. Check out our website, theleagueam.com. Please subscribe to and follow our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. We will be back for our final episode of Confirmation Bias in 2 weeks, and then we'll take some time off and then bring back 32 Kings Road.
If we're not canceled by
We offended women and the dead.
And the dead.
Woo.